Hey guys, Chris here, and I want to talk today about living a double life, how we can live a double life in terms of, living that life that we feel like we're born to live, and why we keep sabotaging ourselves. What are the reasons for? And some of the areas I wanted to focus on are, addictions, as I've mentioned in the past, certain parts of the way we are. Maybe we escape. We drink alcohol, drink coffee, all this sort of stuff day to day, eat lots of sugar to sort of escape reality. But then we know that's sabotaging ourselves. And I've talked in this group and this meetup before about this meetup, sorry, this YouTube channel about conspiracy theories as well, and how, for example, that took a lot of, at one point for me, a lot of my mental energy, and reaffirming that I'm a victim. But this ultimately wasn't what I wanted to put my energy into. I wanted to sort of create an awesome life for myself. Maybe seeing the world, the way we see the world. We might not be a fan of how the world is run or appears to be, but we can create our own, use that creative energy to put it there. And with all these addictions, that again is sort of sabotaging ourselves. So when I was speaking to a couple of my friends recently, it just hit me on the head that the reason that I felt like I keep doing that is because you're living a double life. If you say like, oh, I'm not going to drink coffee for a week, or I'm not going to drink alcohol, and then you do, why are you sabotaging yourself? And it made me realize that we're more or less, we're attracted to the guilt, that feeling of feeling guilty, of beating ourselves up. Because I didn't drink for a while, and then I drank alcohol, and then I just realized how the next day I was just constantly beating myself up and feeling so guilty. Or when I say I'm not going to drink coffee, and then I keep drinking it, and then in the afternoon I get really anxious. Again, it's that feeling of guilty. You're feeling really anxious, and you're like, I shouldn't, and then it's like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't. So you're massively attracted to guilt. So I've just found that that's a key thing. So why do we not fully commit into going into one? And that's about your own sort of issues and self-esteem, about, look, I can fully commit to this, and then really seeing that, seeing it for what it is. So how I was able to do it more recently and cut back on some of these things was to just see that, look, it's just about what do I really want? Where do I want my energy to go? So we talked on previous videos about sort of looking into too many conspiracy theories, or not seeing the world, seeing the world as a victim, right? The more of you spent a lot of your energy into this, and I meet people as well, who massively are always going into this sort of stuff, and then they sort of will come back to me and say, they're constantly like, oh, this is the way the world is, and they really, this like victim energy you feel in them. And I think these people are in our life for a reason. That's to show, a side of us, an element of us, and to be aware of that side of us that, we might be doing to other people as well, spreading fear to other people. So the more you can let go of that, it then frees up a lot of creative energy, and that energy can be put into something a lot more amazing. So when you cut back on all of these addictions, living this double life, as I've said, you can see it for what it is, and just see that sort of way of that you're sabotaging yourself and bringing back the guilt, keeping the guilt alive. Because sometimes you have to challenge yourself and be strict and discipline yourself to say, I'm not going to do this for a week. I'm going to cut out sugar for a week. I'm going to have cold showers for a week, and don't break that. I'm going to cut out coffee and then don't go back to it. So for a week. And then sometimes we can't, because we're addicted to just feeling good in the moment, and we don't want to feel a slight bit of uncomfortability. But we know within ourselves that some of these things we're doing are not good for us, and yet we continue to sabotage ourselves and sabotage our lives and not get what we really want. So you've probably heard this so many times about being clear about exactly what it is that you want, but I've just found this so powerful, and it's hit me recently where, I have fully cut out alcohol for good now, caffeine, because it just was giving me so much anxiety. Now, I'm just using these as examples. It might not be for you. Some of these things might be okay, but for those things in particular, I felt sort of amplified the anxiety and the fear, and in particular feeling guilty as well. Um, and sort of eating sugar as well, crisps, chocolate, this sort of stuff. The more I bring my awareness to, is this stuff actually serving me and my body? The technology, a lot of nostalgia. I think I watched like old YouTube videos of stuff from many years ago, um, or old TV shows and this sort of stuff, and it's just feeding back that self-sabotage, because the next day it's like, oh, I shouldn't have wasted my time doing that, and doing the stuff that really fulfills you and your spirit. This is about setting your spirit free, things that should feel good, and getting in touch with your true feelings. For a while, I stopped going to this yoga class, which I was going through for a while, and I just stopped going. And I was like, in my mind, I was saying, well, yoga's good for me and I'm being more flexible and it's good for my spirit, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't happy. And then I've changed that now. And then I stuck to doing more boxing, and then doing like a couple of hot yoga classes a week, and having a personal trainer. And that, now when I'm doing it, I just really am happy doing it and it feels good. So, I think the thing again is going into the mind and justifying some of our actions. But yeah, I wanted to just really put that in, as that I do think is that we are attracted to the guilt, and that's the main reason why we do it. We're addicted to not feeling good enough and sabotaging ourselves, and we're not really gonna get out of life what we really want, what our purpose is. If you look at your life and think, oh, I've, maybe previous past lives or whatever, I've ended up with the similar kind of result, and wasting time. So time's your most important asset. And this video I watched not too long ago was talking about the Matrix, and how the Matrix has been set up to distract us, and the availability of things like alcohol, whether it's caffeine or sugar and all this sort of stuff, is there to distract us. Because the second we're feeling uncomfortable, we run to it and numb ourselves with it, whereas we should be using that to find out what I really want. Because in a way, this video I was watching was saying the Matrix doesn't want you to find out more about yourself and discover yourself. It wants you to keep distracting yourself, to keep working. So yeah, that was something I wanted to add. And I've started working less as well, because I think I've become addicted to working, which is an escapism to focus on my life's problems, other areas of my life, and to remain a slave, right? Because I work for myself now, so I didn't want to leave my job to just be working all the time, and I see all these other areas of my life suffering. So in terms of being more clear, and cutting back on these bad habits, in particular stuff like technology, not checking social media as well, which doesn't seem to resonate too much with me, being addicted to the validation, which again is a sort of Matrix kind of construct as well. So it is to really look to strip out as many of these things that you see as being distraction, and being aware of the guilt and the feelings. Because whenever I'm around people and we bring up the topic of social media or food, or alcohol or caffeine, all these things, people always seem to have a very similar thing to say. Oh, I shouldn't really do that. Or yeah, I felt bad the other night. And then you also get people who are saying, oh, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. But I think the paradox in that is, it's not necessarily that you have to do it and not beat yourself up. Is some of these things are designed to beat yourself up. People might say, oh, check social media, but don't get addicted to validation, or drink and don't beat yourself up for drinking too much, or, have a bit of caffeine, but don't feel guilty, or try not to get as anxious. And, all this stuff, which doesn't really seem to, seem to make the difference. So, sometimes it's about just cutting this stuff out completely, and living a life without it. Not living that double life, because I think we're going into each of these things, and it is stopping us in some way, and we're aware of that. And once you start to strip these things out, then, the magic happens. Then you create the life you want. With my events I'm running now, because I've seen alcohol more so for what it is, and I've had some of my events and people have been coming, getting really drunk, and it's just, now I'm more focused on creating events and a community where we can have fun and amazing things in life without drinking, because that's something that you know, something that I don't really want as part of my life anymore. And I, you know, obviously don't like to see it in the world, but I have to think of how can I change this? And, you know, also you have to lead by example. If you then want to create something like that and then you go out and you get drunk or you have one now and again, you're kind of then falling into that other life. You're not living the one life. You know, you have to fully go all in and commit is sort of the main point that I want to get across. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. It's called Slavery to Sovereignty. And yeah, and the more I think about this this channel, it's like how we have been slaves and we can free ourselves. So I hope you enjoy and see you soon.